It's been said that in many contexts, the most dangerous number is the number 1, relying on one idea, one main client, or definitely relying on just one income stream. Today's guest has built his creative work into a full-time income that started as 90% high-paying freelance work and 10% other income streams, to completely flipping that ratio upside down, including an ongoing sponsorship from his dream multi-billion-dollar brand, and they approached him. Javier Mercedes began in the world of audio engineering, recording sessions with former US presidents and A-list movie stars. He expanded his career into videography and television editing for ESPN, ABC, and Fox Sports. Today, he's a full-time YouTube creator and online entrepreneur. In this second half of a two-part conversation, Javier discusses the importance of creators building their business foundation, and we dig into his different income streams, what he started and what he shut down, and what possibilities are out there for you. Welcome to the Story Greenlight podcast, where we're all about empowering creators like you to tell your stories, connect with your audience, and create the impact that you were put on this planet to make. My name is Jeff Barch. I'm a coach, author, and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience shaping content for ABC, NBC, Universal, Disney, Apple, and a whole bunch of others. My team and I support creators with followings in the hundreds to the many millions. At Story Greenlight, we believe that you matter, your message matters, and the world needs to hear what you have to say.
Fast forward another year into my career when I'm going full-time, I'm starting to get much bigger gigs. This is where the ESPNs and the CBSs start coming in, where I can now start turning down some of the smaller gigs. I have a better chance of getting called up. And if I can take one or two of those gigs, that will give me enough money for maybe 2 to 3 months on end, where if I just go for a week to LA, work on this production, and then I get like a huge check at the end of all of that, that gives me enough on the back end to be like, all right, I've made enough for these months to just supply living costs. So now I'm just going to take all of that extra time that I don't have to be doing freelance stuff to completely focus on YouTube content.
You know, it sounds like you're describing that you were working with multiple mini anchor gigs that bankroll everything and free up your time, which is a huge deal. It's a huge, huge deal to get the freedom of time. In terms of instead of just trading the hours for dollars. The way that's looked for me over the years has been, I have a primary anchor gig for the show American Ninja Warrior that I've been cutting. I'm about to roll into season number 9.
Congrats, man. I was there. You gave me a tour. I got to see it.
Exactly. I mean, and that show has been anchoring income for the last 9 years. And I've taken other freelance gigs in the meantime. But even right now, as we're talking at this recording, I'm in a gap between my most recent freelance gig that I did for the Discovery Channel and before Post starts up for Ninja, and it's letting me focus full time on business building and content creation and coaching, which I love. And sounds like it's worked out the same way for you.
Yeah, this is where I had the paradigm shift in quality over quantity. I did the grind of quantity, and I learned quickly, and by quickly I mean like a year and a half, still learning, still very much in the learning phase.
Same.
What works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Looking at my audience retention graphs, if I do a call to action, what works, what doesn't work? Do people actually click on this thing if I want them to purchase whatever this thing is? It's that learning gap. The other thing that I would encourage people to think about if you are pursuing a YouTube career or any creative career is to get your business and finance pillars set up prior to success. one thing that both of us have been to and talked to a lot of creators is Vid Summit. And when I talked to a lot of creators there and I talked to them about how I had I think this also comes from the standpoint of I had a freelance video editing career. So I didn't want my credit cards and my bank accounts and my LLC and everything tied to my personal finances. The biggest things that helped me in the beginning was one, just going on Squarespace, creating a website, and it wasn't anything like too grandiose, but that allowed me to have my own email URL. It allowed me to, when I did start making products, they have an e-commerce thing. And then also getting a business bank account, learning how to set up a single member LLC, getting a separate credit card, and all of those. Oh, and also an accountant for things like this.
Yes.
Those are besides like the whole YouTube grind and search engine optimization and thumbnails and all that stuff. One thing that I don't think a lot of creators emphasize is setting up yourself for success in the business realm early, so you don't have the stress of all that later on. And doing things like that really helped me keep an efficient workflow at this point in time in my career. Big case in point is like my first brand deal came in and it was Adobe. I was like, what?
Small company, may have heard of them.
Yeah. And the stuff that I was going to be a part of was like, it was not a small paycheck. This was like, wait, you want to pay me like how much for like, it was like a month or 2 month long campaign where I'd be creating a couple videos and things like that. But I saw that and I was like, wait a minute, this brand deal money is now the same amount that I was like making with these pillar video editing, like my freelance gigs.
Awesome.
What would happen if I am still doing my freelance video editing, but instead of doing it for other clients, marketing or making a show or whatever, now I have the dual benefit of creating sponsored content it's still marketing, but I'm creating it in a way that it's also building up my own brand, and it has the potential of also elevating my content at the same time. So instead of just a one and done, I'm getting paid to essentially still freelance, but freelance for myself on behalf of a company.
Okay, let me jump in. So this is really, really smart what you described. And I don't know that a lot of people may realize the genius of what you just said. So one of the things that, so it's one thing to have the skill of being a great editor. Good grief, the world is filled with the needs for video editors and creative people who know how to get content created. The thing is, if you do a deal for Adobe where you're going out and you're saying, hey, this is Javier Mercedes here with Adobe teaching you how to do XYZ, you are working on behalf of your client.
Exactly.
And people are seeing you and saying, I like that Javier guy. He's probably on YouTube, isn't he? I'll go check out his YouTube channel. And so you are doing client work to benefit your own personal brand at the same time. That's adding layers of purpose on top of itself. And that is really, really smart.
The other thing to touch on there is that a lot of times they will probably post it on their pillar Instagram accounts or Twitter accounts or YouTube accounts, but also in most circumstances, I'm posting that content on my YouTube channel. And one of the biggest things as a creator is your time. So on top of creating your YouTube, my weekly YouTube video, now I can create one of my weekly YouTube videos, but I'm going to get so much more out of it because I'm helping benefit and draw attention towards another company. But it stacks on top of itself, like you're saying. But even more than what I realized was like, I love working with Adobe, but I love where we're at today because of how both company and personal creator can benefit from the relationship of how marketing works in today's social world, if that makes sense. So that's what I started viewing it as. And for other people listening, I know that mine may be a rare case of like, my first brand deal was this huge company that came in and said, hey, we love what you do. Can you do this for us? And I don't remember how big my subscriber base was. I want to say it was probably under 20,000.
Okay.
It was probably lower than that. But what I was focusing in on that time was quality. They saw that the quality of what I was making was something that they could get behind. And obviously, in this specific case, I'm pretty niched down to something that is exactly their audience. So it just made sense for them to invest in somebody like me early on because I'm creating content around Adobe Premiere Pro anyway. So it's basically they're just like getting a straight like magnifying glass to their core audience through my voice.
So for people listening to this who are saying, this is a one-off situation. This is lightning striking. This is lightning striking Javier. How many people out there are creating content that's information-based, that's teaching-based, and there are entities who may not be a multi-billion-dollar company like Adobe, but they are exactly lined up with what you're talking about. I mean, you can be a contractor and you can be showing how to hang drywall. You can literally go to the drywall manufacturer and say, "Hey, this is the stuff that I'm doing. Do you think we could work together?" Chances are there's something that could happen there, and it doesn't. So it's just those opportunities are everywhere if we know where to look for them.
And not only that, but even if the company just doesn't have the means or wants to work with you at that point, there's still the option of, if they do sell something on Amazon, you can still do some sort of affiliate type of thing if you are creating videos that make sense for that. It's another like eyes open moment, the same as when I saw those like 2 to 5 cents hit the analytics inside my YouTube studio.
He said, now this is a real thing.
The potential. Yeah. Now I'm seeing the potential of like, oh man, I don't have to do all of these freelance gigs in order that are one and done. I can now still do these quote unquote freelance gigs, but they are a part of my own, I guess, ecosystem, and they help bring up both the company and myself at the same time.
So at that moment, you had your 90% freelance, 5% AdSense, 5% affiliate. How did that shift at that point?
At this point, I also started to release my first product. This was me kind of just testing the waters. It's also like my wife and friends were like, you should try and sell something. Like, why? Like you have this big audience base of people that love you for what you create and want to support you. You should create something. And I'll say this, the first thing I did is I started a Patreon, and one of the people that helped me get my feet on the ground once I left my job, I did an interview with him as a part of my podcast after the cameras were done, after the microphones were turned off. This was like peak. Like I left my job maybe like 2 weeks ago or like 3 weeks prior. And he just like looks me dead in the eye and he's like, "Hey, like, how are you doing now?" Like he wanted to actually like, he wanted to know like if I was going to be like financially okay with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? We have enough saved up. I really believe in myself and what I'm going to do. And he's like, you know, that other people want to help support you, even if there's like not anything in return, like people want to support you. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? Well, it turns out like this guy was also, he was one of the first people in PayPal. Like he helped like formulate that and everything. So he was coming from a mind of like, he knows that like people like to just like donate to creators and things like that nature. And he's like, have you what if you just put like a PayPal on your YouTube or something like that? And in my mind, I was like, I don't like that. Just doesn't sound right to me. But what that kind of manifested itself into was a Patreon, and I started a Patreon, and it was so much work creating all of the content for the YouTube channel that I just didn't know what I had to give to people behind a paywall. So I was just straight up. I was like, look, here's this thing. Here's where I'm at in my career. If you want to give some, okay. Like I don't feel comfortable maybe doing this, but like I know some people have approached me to help me out with this whole journey. And lo and behold, it wasn't anything big, but like it started out with maybe $20 a month, then it went to 50. And I think by the end I was maybe getting like $150 per month from people. And it was like, it warmed my heart to know that like I was helping people so much that they just wanted to help out with me being a creator, you know?
Yeah.
I released that first product. It was a smooth animation preset pack. All this thing does is help you take an asset or a title or a video, and it helps slide it into the frame or slide it out of the frame. That's all it does. So if you want something to slide in from the left, it'll just slide it in from the left, and then you can slide it back out to the right. It is a super simple preset pack. In fact, in the video where I release the preset pack, I show you exactly to the T how to make the same exact thing that I'm selling. I'm like, look, this is it. This is the thing. You could do it for yourself. Just like save the preset. But here's my preset. I started selling it for like $5, and I got a bunch of sales in the first day of releasing it. But a lot of people approached me asking me to raise the price. These are people that actually paid for it, but they were like, that's the I don't know how to describe it, but a proof of concept maybe, or just the fact that people appreciate what I was doing for them so much that they were willing to tell me that I should be selling this thing for more money. So I eventually raised it to $15, and that's where it's at now. But it was a business thing. Like this is the first time where I had like something that had my name on it. This is the thing that I'm creating. This is my preset pack. And as simple as that may sound, it's like it's a big step. Let's say this is a couple months after my first sponsored gig. I'm getting more emails. I'm getting a bunch of emails to review products. Now they'll send me something for free. And now I'm also getting other emails about doing sponsored content. And what I had reference to was my old freelancing gigs in the past and how much I was getting paid for that. And then what somebody like Adobe was willing to pay me for their sponsorship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the other emails that were coming in were for significantly less money. And this comes down to time and saying no. In terms of giving advice to what to take on and what not to take on, I in my perspective, it was more valuable for me to say no to all of these other people that were approaching me to do these sponsorship deals, even though it may have been something small on top of the videos that I was already creating. But it was more important for me to retain audience and build a relationship and do all of those things and create the content that I wanted to create and not get bogged down with creating a video, sending it off for approval, get the approval back, then maybe having to change something. That all of that takes time. And I'm trying to make a video, like a quality video, every single week. I'm able at this point to finally say no to a lot of the one-offs and a lot of the, I guess I want to say mid-tier type of stuff. This is with a caveat of I'm not making as much money. I am definitely not making as much money. I was probably like my first year full-time YouTube, maybe making like 30,000 or something like that after the whole year is said and done from just the YouTube, whatever type stuff, all of my own material plus like some of the freelance gigs. But then everything starts to shift and the income starts to go more and things start to tip. I have that thought in my mind of like, is this worth my time? Is this one of those pieces of content that I can do that I put a lot of effort into that's worth the time and money and investment to do this, where it will help bankroll my living expenses for X amount of months, where I can then devote my time to creating the videos that I want to create specifically for my channel.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of starts to be a self-fulfilling thing, where the more quality content that you create for yourself, the more brands will approach you to create that style of quality content that you want to create, but in harmony with their own brand message, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would like, I guess I would just say, the more you make the content that you want to make, the more that opportunities that you want to see fit will present themselves. I did so well with Adobe on my first one that they came back, and now instead of just giving me 1 gig per year, now throughout each quarter, they might ask me to do something. And on top of that, now I'm getting approached by other companies. Like right now, I am in a huge campaign with AT&T. And this is something that I was like, I wouldn't have even like thought about before, but it's, I think, but maybe by the time this is released, maybe you'll see some of the stuff on my Instagram, but it's part of a pretty big campaign. But in terms of, if you asked me a couple years ago, like, would I be creating this kind of content for a brand like AT&T? Like, what?
That's phenomenal, man.
And now I'm getting, it's like weird for me to think about. Like, companies are now paying me to come out and film content or be the face of whatever that brand is during a specific time period and do the things for them, what I was already doing during my grind. Like,
Wow.
back for like something like No Small November, and it all kind of builds on top of itself. So I would say the money that I was making freelancing has, at this point in time in my career, has completely been flip-flopped to now that's what I make with sponsorship money. And what we talked about before is, I wouldn't exactly say it's different from the freelance, because you are still creating content for a client. It's just that you have the mutual benefit of helping elevate your own brand or the own content that you're creating.
It's all well and good, in my case, to be able to cut for NBC, but Jeff Barch's personal or online brands have zero benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're able to the fact that you're able to make that double up is really, really cool. I'd be curious to know, at this point, so how would you break down the percentage of your income streams as of now?
At this point, my affiliate income is no longer as much as my Google AdSense. My Google AdSense is I would say probably 1/3 of my income. And that's by design, because I stopped doing gear reviews for the most part on my channel. Now, I still may do one here and there. I was specifically focused on Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
And just if I could do something like that, or B&H, which is another video equipment product.
Sure. And they have a super strong affiliate program too.
The affiliate link money from that, along with my YouTube AdSense revenue, both of those were increasing till about a year ago. And then my affiliate link money from those two websites started to plateau, because I decided to focus and go all in on the whole video editing tutorial aspect, because I saw from my viewership that my gear review videos were getting they just were not getting as many views. And this is the other reason why I stopped doing my podcast. I did my podcast for about 70 some episodes, or maybe 90 some. I can't think of it at this point in time, but it was more than a year. I want to say maybe a year and a half of doing it weekly. I stopped doing that because I would release a Premiere Pro tutorial, maybe get 15,000 views on that video. Then I would immediately follow it up with a podcast that's an hour long, and then I would get maybe 100 views on that or 200 views. And I had to talk to Matt Diavella. I actually have a video of me on my channel when I'm talking to him. And I was like, look, man, you're one of the first people that did this whole podcast thing. Like, why did you take it off your channel? And he gave me the same answer that I'm giving right now, is that like people have a certain expectation when they come to my channel. He had his podcast and he was like, it just, when people would click on videos, he would get like 200,000 views on his video, but then he would release a podcast and then it would get significantly less, maybe like 2,000 to 3,000 to 15,000 or whatever. And it just, in terms of what is needed for the YouTube algorithm for your channel to be successful, it just doesn't help that you have a banger of a video and then all of a sudden the algorithm doesn't know what to do, because it's like, what kind of channel are you? So I started my own podcast channel and started posting everything to that, but it came down to a timing thing where I just like, it just took too long to produce my podcast. So my last episode was right when COVID hit. And one of the big things with my podcast is I wanted to do them all in person. I don't mind flying out to the creators and interviewing them, because like, I think it's part of the whole experience, you know?
Sure.
But because COVID hit, I was like, all right, not going to do the podcast anymore because I can't do it in person. And I'm going to focus more into my video editing tutorials. So with that, I still get affiliate link money on certain videos that are just evergreen in terms of a certain product that is still relevant. And maybe my video, the only reason I'm getting affiliate money from that thing is because my video is still doing well in search for that product. And which is like great. And that also took me a really long time to recognize. Like, I know for a fact that if I release a video that's a certain type of gear review, the views are going to tank. But I know in the back of my head, the income that I may get, the potential is far outweighs the con of taking the hit in views for my channel, especially if it's something that like I'm passionate about. Like, I know that it may do better for me in the long run, which is kind of what's happened. If I do a gear review, most of the time I know if it's going to do good or not in the beginning. And then I have a better understanding of how well it will do in terms of its affiliate income to me in the far future. So if the opportunity makes sense, then I'll still do them. But since really niching down and focusing specifically on Premiere Pro on my channel and consistently putting out a quality video every single week, that is what made my channel skyrocket. Because people just have an expectation. Same thing like if you're going to watch American Ninja Warrior, you're not going to turn on American Ninja Warrior and then all of a sudden like get Barney or something like that, you know?
Right.
You know what to expect in terms of a format of, here's these people's backstory. Let's see them try to get through the course, and then let's follow this arc throughout the whole season to see if this person can make it all the way to the end to be an American Ninja Warrior. There's like certain expectation there. Whereas like with my channel, I kind of view it the same way. Is like, if you come to my channel and you've seen prior material of mine, not the like Gordon Ramsay cookbook stuff, but in the recent past, you have an expectation of what is there. I've gotten to the point where I'm comfortable with, all right, it's me in front of a computer. I'm trying to make this as interesting as possible. I would much rather give you a good tutorial and show you how to do the things than waste your time showcasing, like doing story-driven things. I haven't had a perfect marriage yet of how to produce weekly content where, say it's something like Peter McKinnon, where his personality is so infectious where you want to sit through maybe 2 minutes of him talking about his day before he actually gets to the tutorial. Like, he's so good at it. Whereas with me, I'm such a cut and dry type of like, when you come to the tutorial, this is it. This is how you do the thing. Like, and then I try and add some personality in there. It kind of getting away from the whole income thing, but I just want to give a reference as to what has helped my channel be successful is really focusing in on that one thing. At this point in time in my career, I stopped my Patreon because the amount of income that I was making from my online products far supersedes anything that I was making from Patreon. Like, I could make more in one day than I was making from the donations in my Patreon. And before I just released my latest product, for reference, I was selling on average about 3 products per day. And that was something that I didn't expect. I completely expected to come out with a product, it get a lot of traction at the beginning, and then have nobody see or talk about it or
have no tail.
Like, it just won't, like, it. That's just never going to be a thing since I released it. But it's been the complete opposite. At the time of this podcast, I just released my transition preset pack, which is 70 transitions for Premiere Pro. They're all drag and drop. I try to make it like as easy as possible. And I'm also drawing on all of the information and experience that I've learned from my 2 previous products that I've made. At this point, once you release a product, it's so much more beneficial to do all of the R&D up front than to release something and not have it be ready, because then you're answering all of these emails from your customers who are like really happy to like purchase the thing, but say something was wrong with it. To give you a good example, like maybe I'll be on Christmas break and I'll be like with family, and then you get an email from somebody when you're out to dinner, and they're like working on a project and they need something from you because of this thing that you bought. One of the aspects of creating your own products is your own customer service. So the more that I can do before I release this product to make sure that everything works correctly, the better I am in the future. So nobody has to ask me anything about it. So I went through, like, I used so many different versions of Premiere Pro where I would set up sequences and I would drag on every single different transition. I would sit there and play every single one. Then I would take them and I would go through different iterations of my product where I would create it one way, then create it a different way, then create it a different way to try and make it as simple as possible. Then I would try and like just break it. I would be like, all right, what if somebody wants to make vertical content? What if somebody wants to make 4x5 content? What if somebody wants to make square content? Can you still use this same preset on all of these different parameters? That's 4K, HD, 720. Like, lo and behold, I found so many issues with everything that was my previous versions of the product. But because I'm finding all of these issues now, I don't have to answer all of the customer service stuff in the long run. I would say about my individual product income is about 1/3 of my income now. 1/3 is sponsorship. And then the other 1/3 is affiliate and YouTube money. And there's probably some other stuff that I'm missing, but my affiliate material has switched, where before I was thinking it was all Amazon just because that's like all I knew. But now, because I'm a video editing channel, I actually reviewed and did other content on other video editing products by other creators. Yeah. And that material is actually supplying me with more affiliate money than what Amazon did in the first place, and which is like something I wasn't expecting. When I first did these reviews, these creators didn't have affiliate programs. I literally was like, I was using these products because there was nothing else out there to help video editors for the certain things that these products did. So yeah. I would like, when I looked to do something in Premiere Pro, I was like, look, you could do all this stuff, but then here's this guy that made this thing, and look at how cool it is. And eventually, some of the creators like saw how much like traffic I could bring to them, or other creators. I don't know exactly like how they came about making their affiliate programs, but they reached out, and I was like, oh yeah, like I love your stuff. Like I'll be a part of your affiliate program. And now that stuff is also another significant, like where I'll get at least one or two people buying whatever those products are per day, which like helps out significantly as well. So I would say in terms of income stuff, just from a personal business thing, it's about split into thirds. I'm at this point where I have a stability in what I'm doing as a YouTube creator. Now, granted, it's all on me, and hopefully I don't get like canceled or anything like that. And it could all go away. But I also know that I have the skill set that if something were to happen, I could still pick up and be beneficial to some other company for making videos or anything like that. That's not what I would want to do, but I know that potential is always there. It's just nice that I've built up my different income streams to the point where now I'm making more and I'm more comfortable in terms of where I'm at monetarily. The point which I knew things kind of like I had to make things work / this is it for me, is when my wife lost her job during COVID. And all of a sudden, I'm the only person bringing in income to the household. And now I'm the person that has to supply the income for the health insurance and things like that. And it's like, obviously we're probably negative, net negative for a couple months while she was still searching for a job. But at the same time, it was kind of gratifying to know that like I had at least put in enough effort to be comfortable with the situation of, all right, I know how we can make this work by being a YouTube creator.
So much good stuff in here for people who are looking for ways to get in touch with you, who are looking to level up their editing chops so they can focus on the things that really matter to them. Where do they go?
So it's Javier Mercedes X on all things social. I'm mainly active on Twitter and Instagram. It's Javier Mercedes, just like the car. And because other people have Javier Mercedes on all those different platforms, I put an X at the end. So Javier Mercedes X. It's much easier than saying like Javier Mercedes _ or _ Javier Mercedes or any of those kind of things. And what's funny is some people ask me like, well, why haven't you tried to like get the handles of like the other Javier Mercedes? And if you look up Javier Mercedes, I'm like promoting the other dude right now, but like he's like a bachata singer, I want to say, in Venice or Colombia. And I actually see his Instagram and I'm like, I just respect his hustle because he's out there doing almost the same thing, just like being a creator, but like in the music sense. And like, I just like, I wish him the best as well. So I don't want to reach out and be like, hey man, can I have your handle?
It's just so in keeping with what I've seen of you and what I've known of you and your personality. I mean, you're looking to raise people up, you're looking to help. And clearly that's working out well for you. So love to hear that kind of things happening, and looking forward to seeing what's next for you. That's part 2 of our conversation with Javier Mercedes. Such a genuine, cool dude. Make sure to connect with Javier on YouTube. There is a link to his channel down in the show notes. And if you're a creator who wants to unlock the next level of creativity and impact in your content, then you should join us in the Green Room. It is our private community here in Story Greenlight that's all about helping creators like you tell your stories, connect with your audience, and get things done with the support of a community of creators like you. You can get full access to the Green Room for a month for free. You can get started right now at the link in the description below. I'll see you there.